Now, there have been a lot of people that are concerned about a rushed vaccine coming out without being adequately tested and so forth. Now, if you ask me, that is a very valid concern, as vaccines have been rushed out before, and some of these vaccines have actually showed negative side effects, some of them which are permanent. Now, in regards to being able to force people to take the vaccine, as in strap people down on a table and inject them with this vaccine against their will, no, that's not something they seem to be legally able to do. But can they fine you, arrest you, and cause you to lose your job? According to this lawyer, absolutely they can. Now I'm going to read a couple paragraphs from the article, and it reads, "The short answer is yes, according to Dov Fox, a law professor and the director of the Center for Health and Law Policy and Bioethics at the University of San Diego, California. States can compel vaccinations in more or less intrusive ways," he said in an interview. "They can limit access to schools or services or jobs if people don't get vaccinated. They could force them to pay a fine or even lock them up in jail." So, once again, I'm not saying that they will, I'm saying that they can. And given the fact that the Democrats especially have gone to a great length to destroy people's livelihoods, reputations, businesses, and families and so forth, just for the sake of keeping people under their thumb, none of this would surprise me if they did try to do this, especially during this election year craziness. So really quick before I go any further, I'm going to show you this video that not only explains this, but also explains a bit of the history behind the ruling that actually allows states to do this.
As we race to develop a coronavirus vaccine, some major questions are emerging. Good evening, I'm Kimberly Hunt.
And I'm Steve Atkinson. A lot of people are wondering if the government could force people to get it, or could people who refuse get banned from stores or lose their jobs? ABC 10 News anchor Derek Stahl spoke with a legal expert to get some answers.
Imagine a world where you have to get vaccinated and show proof to go shopping, board a plane, or just go to work. Legally, it could happen, says University of San Diego law professor Dov Fox.
States can compel vaccinations in more or less intrusive ways. They can limit access to schools or services or jobs if people don't get vaccinated. It could force them to pay a fine or even lock them up in jail. Those measures have been adopted in other countries like France, but not so far in the United States.
It all dates back to a Supreme Court case in 1905. The court held that Massachusetts could fine people for not getting vaccinated against smallpox. That case became the basis of vaccine requirements at schools across the country.
Courts have found that when medical necessity requires it, the public health outweighs the individual rights and liberties at stake.
Just last year, New York City passed an ordinance fining people for not getting a measles vaccination. But there's a big difference between what states have the power to do and what Congress could do.
There are these questions, separation of powers, Commerce Clause questions.
Professor Fox says a federal vaccine requirement would probably get shot down by the current Supreme Court based on a 2012 ruling on the Affordable Care Act. That means we could have a patchwork of different vaccination requirements in different states. Professor Fox says states would need to allow exemptions for people with legitimate medical risks like pregnancy, but not exemptions for other reasons.
Religious exemptions, philosophical ones, have largely been overridden in the name of public health.
However, Professor Fox says recent protests over face coverings show there's a big risk of a backlash here. And just because states have the power to require vaccinations doesn't mean it's the best public policy. Derek Stahl, ABC 10 News.
And legal experts say that private businesses would have the authority to fire workers who don't want to get vaccinated for personal or religious reasons. Companies would just need to show that there are significant costs at stake for having unvaccinated employees.
Now, you're free to interpret that message however you want to. But when it comes to a rushed vaccine that has experienced minimal or no clinical testing, that is a massive red flag. And what is even a bigger red flag is the fact that they want to mandate that you take this vaccine in one way or another. Now, as far as the smallpox vaccine goes, I actually did a little bit of research on the risk regarding it. Now, the risks were minimal. There were only very small amounts of people that actually experienced severe and life-threatening side effects. And honestly, that is a risk that you're willing to take when you take a vaccine. Because honestly, there is just no possible way to account for every scenario. And that being said, I do not consider myself an anti-vaxxer either. I do believe that vaccines can be helpful if they are clinically tested and proven to work. However, I can find no logical reason for anyone, especially myself, to be rushing to take a vaccine for a virus that has a mortality rate of 0.26, has a recovery rate of 99.7, and has a median death age rate of 85. And frankly, the so-called health experts, including Dr. Fauci himself, can't even get his own facts straight or even go by his own rules when it comes to wearing masks. It makes me wonder if they even believe the own nonsense that they preach. And yet, I haven't found any evidence yet that supports the need for a mask mandate. No evidence that even suggests that these masks actually work. In fact, you can even look on the box of some of these masks and they will tell you that they do not protect you against this virus. That being said, this is an important thing to remember, is that people tend to value security and they want to feel safe. People are generally okay with these types of mandates because it helps them feel safe in the long run, and because they want the government to just do something about it. And when people are in a state of fear, they're going to be looking desperately to solve their immediate self-interests and their immediate problems. So I can definitely see people rushing to get this vaccine because they're so scared that the big bad coronavirus that only kills 0.26% of people that are elderly and have pre-existing conditions is going to kill everybody and our children. But people that lack critical thinking skills tend to leap before they look, and that is totally on them. Frankly, if they want the vaccine so bad, just let them take it. Because quite frankly, if I have to take it at some point, at the very least, I want to see the normies take it first. I want to see whether it actually does anything negative to them first. Want to be a guinea pig without being paid? Have at it. Now, the average fear-mongering normie is so stupid that one of their most common Google searches is coronavirus a virus or a bacteria? Let that sink in for just a moment. These are the people that vote. And not only do they vote, but they are the majority of the voters. But frankly, forced vaccinations is not even the primary reason why I even brought this up. Because if they're willing to force you to take a vaccine or else lose your job, lose your family, lose your freedom, be thrown in jail, and so on, it makes you wonder, or it makes me wonder at least, what else are they willing to throw you in jail for? Just because you refuse to comply with the narrative or the cultural zeitgeist. Now, I know the majority of you are atheist or agnostic, but I want you to consider this. Remember how the Bible talks about the mark of the beast and you won't be able to buy or sell without it? It seems like we are moving in that direction and we are ever so close to it, assuming that is what's going to happen. And frankly, there is nothing I put past a lot of these politicians. As the saying goes, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Who gave them this power? Well, we did, of course. And we continue to let them have that power by doing absolutely nothing. Now, let's assume that the whole New World Order thing in the Bible and Revelation is true for 5 minutes, okay? Now, all my life as a kid, I was raised in a church. And all my life, I hear these preachers talking about how they will not accept the mark of the beast and how they will not allow the New World Order or 666 to be ushered in and so forth. And yet I see it's the church every passing day that just simply allows it. They go along with it. They say don't go to church because of a big, bad, scary virus and this is for your own good. What do? A lot of times they just simply do it. But the Muslims, oh no, we can't stop them from going to the mosque because, that would be Islamophobic. And God knows they could, blow something up or cause some sort of violence because we violated their religious freedoms. Next thing you know, they're going to stick an RFID chip in you where you can neither buy nor sell without it, which can track you all over the world and contains all of your vaccination records, all of your medical records, and all of that good stuff along with it. And without it, you can no longer live in society and you're considered an outcast. But you gotta take it because it's for your own good. Yeah. I believe the majority of people in the church are just gonna lay down and take it. Watch. Not even realizing what they're doing. Not only do I have no faith in people, I have no faith in the modern church. To be frank, I used to believe it stood for something. Or should I say most of the people. Now, I see it for the joke it is. Do I still believe in God? Yes. But as far as organized religion goes, frankly, I'm done. And to be clear, this is in regards to Protestantism as well as Catholicism. The modern day implementations, that is. Not the Orthodox Church. Because it seems like they're the only ones that seem to get it, when I talk to them at least. One thing I thank God for is a functioning brain. Something not a lot of people seem to have when it comes to crisis. Or should I say perceived crisis. Guess I really am all on my own. Now, it is late here. I don't really feel like ranting any further. Just want you to know that this is happening, and it may come to a city or state near you. But really, isn't it sad knowing that I still have more faith in a so-called sky genie than the average person? Yeah, I thought so. Now, go away. Go to bed. Piss off. I'm done.